Welcome to Inside True Stories, where hidden battles, untold love, and the triumph of justice come alive. Today, we uncover the gripping story of a black veteran whose quiet search for peace on his ranch is shattered by a ruthless fake HOA. But in the midst of betrayal and danger, he finds not only justice, but also love that heals his scars. This is the story of Marcus Johnson. Marcus Johnson stood in the soft glow of dawn, the horizon painted with streaks of orange and lavender. His ranch stretched wide around him, fences that needed mending, fields that demanded work, and horses that greeted him with steady, trusting eyes. To most, it was simple land. To Marcus, it was a sanctuary. After years of serving in combat zones, the silence of the countryside was his medicine. Every creak of the barn, every whistle of the wind across the grass, reminded him that he was finally home. Yet beneath that peace lay memories. Gunfire, comrades lost, nights without sleep that sometimes bled into his present. He whispered to himself, a ritual born from survival, one day at a time, one afternoon. While repairing the ranch's old gate along the dusty roadside, Marcus heard the sputter of an engine. A small silver car coughed and wheezed before rolling to a halt. From the driver's seat stepped Elena Ramirez, a striking woman in her early 30s, her dark hair falling over her blazer, her heels clearly not made for dirt roads. She looked flustered, trying to pop the hood, papers spilling from her briefcase onto the ground. Marcus approached cautiously. "Need a hand?" His voice carried both authority and gentleness. Elena glanced up, guarded but relieved. "If you know how to make cars run on pure determination, then yes." A rare smile tugged at Marcus's lips. Within minutes, his skilled hands adjusted wires, tightened clamps, and coaxed the engine back to life. Elena studied him, not just the veteran's physique, but the quiet patience behind his every move. "You're good at this," she said, brushing dust off her skirt. "Spent years fixing things that were broken," Marcus replied, his tone heavy with double meaning. Their eyes met, holding a tension neither wanted to name. Elena revealed she was new in town, a lawyer trying to build her practice in a community wary of outsiders. Marcus, though polite, remained distant. He had built walls around his heart, protecting it from both memories of war and past betrayals. Still, something about Elena lingered with him. Long after she drove away, the determination in her eyes, the warmth in her smile, and for Elena, the image of the solitary veteran in work, worn jeans, and calloused hands, stayed with her long after her car's engine purred down the road. That evening, Marcus walked along the fence line as the sun dipped low. His horses grazed peacefully, and the stars blinked into the darkening sky. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to wonder if life could offer more than survival, if it could offer companionship, even love. But peace has a way of being fragile, and soon, strangers would arrive at his gate. Men who smiled too much, spoke too smoothly, and carried the weight of deception. The storm was coming. Marcus just did not know it yet. A week after their roadside encounter, Marcus drove into town for supplies. The hardware store was quiet, except for the sound of his boots against the wooden floor. At the far end of the aisle, Elena stood with a notepad in her hand, frowning at the rows of tools. She looked out of place, dressed sharply for court, not for a store filled with nails, hammers, and horse feed. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Planning to build a house, counselor?" Startled, Eleanor turned and laughed softly, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "Trying to hang a few shelves in my office. But apparently, I'm more likely to file an injunction than drill a straight hole." Without thinking, Marcus picked up the right tool and placed it in her hands. Their fingers brushed, and the air between them shifted. Charged, uncertain, alive. "You'll need this," he said quietly. Elena's smile softened. You always know how to fix things, don't you? Later that afternoon, Elena invited Marcus to share a coffee at a small cafe across from the courthouse. He almost declined. Small talk was not his strength. But something in her eyes convinced him. As they sat together, the conversation drifted beyond casual words. Elena spoke of her struggles, how being an outsider lawyer in a tight-knit community made her a target of whispers. Marcus shared only fragments of his past, never the full weight of what he carried. Yet, in her presence, he felt his silence wasn't a burden. She didn't press for details. She simply listened. When she laughed, he caught himself staring, surprised by how easily she brought light into his guarded world. Days later, Elena drove out to Marcus's ranch with a stack of papers she needed, notarized by a veteran for a local case. Marcus invited her to stay for dinner, a simple meal of grilled steak and cornbread. Afterward, they walked the ranch under a starlit sky. The night was quiet except for the gentle rustle of wind through the grass. Elena looked around in awe. "It's beautiful here, peaceful." Marcus nodded. "That's why I bought it. I needed a place that didn't remind me of everything else." He paused, almost regretting the admission, but Elena's hand brushed his arm, steady and warm. "You don't have to explain. Sometimes, silence says more than words." For the first time in years, Marcus felt the wall around his heart weaken. As Eleanor drove away that night, Marcus leaned against the fence, staring into the darkness. The ranch had become more than just his sanctuary. It was becoming a place of possibility. But deep inside, a soldier's instinct stirred. The land was too quiet, the peace too fragile. Soon, the storm would break, and both his heart and his ranch would be put to the ultimate test. It was late afternoon when Marcus first saw them. 3 men in press suits standing at his gate, their black SUV idling on the dirt road. Their smiles were wide, too wide, and their clipboards gleamed with official-looking papers. One of them, a tall man with slicked back hair, spoke first. "Mr. Johnson, we represent the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. We've noticed several violations on your property." Marcus tightened his grip on the fence post he was repairing. "There is no HOA out here. This is ranch land." The man chuckled smoothly, as though Marcus had told a child's joke. "New regulations, sir. All residents within a 5-mile radius fall under Willow Creek HOA jurisdiction. You'll be expected to pay dues and correct violations." Marcus's voice dropped low, steady, dangerous. "This ranch isn't for sale, and I don't answer to made-up rules." The men exchanged glances, their smiles fading. "We'll be in touch," the slick-haired one said, his tone edged with quiet threat. As they drove off, a chill crawled down Marcus's spine. He had faced enemies overseas, but this felt different. More insidious, like a shadow creeping into his home. Within days, Marcus began receiving envelopes slipped into his mailbox. Violation, improper fencing. Violation, unauthorized livestock. Immediate fine, $20,500. Each document looked official, stamped with seals that reeked of forgery. Marcus burned them in his fire pit, refusing to bend. But as the weeks passed, harassment escalated. Men loitering near his property, strange cars parked at night, threatening phone calls that clicked off when he answered. The peace of his ranch began to fracture. One evening, Marcus walked into Elena's office downtown, the crumpled notices in his hand. She looked up, surprised by his unannounced arrival, but the intensity in his eyes silenced her greeting. "They're trying to take my land," he said. Spreading the papers across her desk, Elena studied them carefully, her sharp lawyer's mind cutting through the lies. This isn't legal. These documents are fabricated. Whoever they are, they're pretending to be an HOA, but they're really just criminals in suits." Marcus's jaw clenched. "I knew it." She looked up at him, her voice steady but concerned. "Marcus, This isn't just a scam. It's a coordinated land grab. They'll push harder until you give in, or until you fight back. Their eyes locked. For the first time, Marcus wasn't just a veteran seeking peace. He was a soldier being called back to battle. That night, Marcus found his cattle restless, spooked by something unseen. By morning, one lay sick, poisoned feed scattered nearby. His blood boiled. Not only were they coming after his land, they were harming innocent creatures to break his will. When Eleanor visited later, she saw the fury in his eyes, the controlled rage of a man who had endured too much already. "Marcus, you can't fight this alone," she said, her voice soft but firm. "You need the law on your side. And what if the law is already in their pocket?" Marcus countered, his tone rough. She stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. "Then we make our own justice." The more Elena investigated, the more danger shadowed her. Late-night phone calls, veiled threats left on her windshield. Yet she pressed on, standing beside Marcus despite the risk. One evening, after a long day gathering evidence, Marcus lit a fire outside the ranch. The two of them sat in silence, flames dancing between them. Finally, Elena broke the stillness. "You don't let people in easily, do you?" Marcus stared into the fire. "People leave, or worse, I stop believing in second chances." She turned toward him, her voice low, unwavering. "Maybe that's what this is. Not just about your ranch, but about your life. About starting again." Their eyes lingered, the unspoken heat between them as real as the fire's warmth. For a moment, the war outside their gates faded, and the battle inside their hearts took center stage. But just as sparks of love began to bloom, headlights swept across the ranch, tires crunching against gravel. Another SUV rolled up, uninvited, unwelcome. The storm had arrived at his doorstep. The headlights that cut across the ranch weren't just a warning. 3 men stepped out, not in suits this time, but in dark jackets and masks. They carried crowbars, smashing the wooden fence and overturning feed bins. Marcus grabbed his rifle from the porch, his military instincts flaring. "Get off my land," he barked, his voice carrying the same thunder it once did on the battlefield. The men froze, but only for a moment, before retreating back to their SUV. As they sped away, Marcus fired a warning shot into the night sky. The silence afterward was deafening. The peace of his sanctuary had been violated. When Elena arrived the next morning and saw the destruction, her heart ached. She touched the broken fence post with trembling hands. "Marcus, they're escalating. If they can't scare you, they'll try to destroy you." Marcus's eyes hardened. "Let them try." Elena's fight alongside Marcus did not go unnoticed. One evening, after staying late at her office, she returned to her car to find a note tucked under the windshield wiper. "Stop helping him, or you'll regret it." Her breath caught, fear racing through her veins. But when she called Marcus, she masked her fear with steel. "They're coming after me now." Marcus's chest tightened. He had survived ambushes, gunfire, and betrayal overseas. But the thought of Eleanor in danger was unbearable. For the first time, he considered ending the fight by surrendering his land. But when he told her, she stood taller than ever. "No. If we give them this, they'll do it to someone else. You taught me to be strong, Marcus. Now let me stand with you." Her defiance both terrified and stirred him. This wasn't just a legal battle anymore. It was war. The threats took their toll. Marcus, haunted by his past, began pulling away from Elena. He believed that keeping her close would only paint a target on her back. One night, under the same stars where they once walked peacefully, Marcus spoke the words that cut deeper than any wound. "You should leave, before they hurt you." Elena's voice broke, but her spirit did not. "I'm not afraid of them, Marcus. I'm afraid of losing you." Silence hung heavy. He turned away, but the pain in his eyes betrayed the love he tried so hard to bury. Elena dug deeper, her legal contacts helping her unravel the truth. The fake HOA wasn't just a group of thugs. It was a front for a powerful land developer, Charles Whitmore, who had eyes on Marcus's ranch as the keystone for a massive luxury resort. Worse, evidence suggested Whitmore had a corrupt county official in his pocket, making it nearly impossible to fight him through standard channels. Marcus's fists clenched when he learned the truth. This isn't just about me. It's about greed. It's about them thinking people like us can be pushed aside. Elena met his gaze, her voice steady. Then we'll expose them. And when we do, we'll win. After weeks of tension, of danger and distance, the two found themselves once again by the fire at Marcus's ranch. The flames flickered across his scarred face, shadows dancing like ghosts of his past. Elena reached across, her hand covering his. I need you to know something, Marcus. I don't care about the threats, the risk, or the fight. I care about you. For the first time, his walls crumbled completely. He pulled her close, his voice breaking. I thought I'd lost the right to feel this, to love again. But you make me believe it's possible. Their lips met in a kiss, both fierce and tender, born of pain, hope, and the fire that burned between them. But as the flames crackled, a new danger loomed, unseen in the shadows beyond the ranch. A pair of headlights blinked once, then disappeared into the night. The enemy was closer than they realized. The intimidation campaign grew bolder. Marcus returned one morning to find a bold red sign staked at his front gate. Property seized. Under HOA authority. Rage boiled in his chest. He ripped the sign down and crushed it in his hands. They're trying to erase me, he muttered. But Eleanor placed a hand on his arm. No, they're giving us the proof we need. This is fraud in broad daylight. Her confidence steadied him. For the first time, Marcus realized he wasn't fighting alone anymore. Together, Marcus and Elena dug deeper. They uncovered forged documents, bank transfers, linking Whitmore to the county commissioner, and a trail of intimidation tactics disguised as legal notices. Late nights turned into early mornings, the two of them working side by side at her office. Amid the stacks of files and coffee cups, Marcus would sometimes catch Elena looking at him, not with pity, but with belief. That belief kept him going. The courthouse was packed on the day of the hearing. Whitmore sat smug in his tailored suit, flanked by lawyers and the corrupt county official who had greased the wheels for him. Marcus sat beside Elena, his broad shoulders tense, his jaw tight. Though he was no stranger to battles, this was a different kind of war. When Eleanor rose to speak, her voice cut through the courtroom like steel. She laid out the evidence piece by piece. Fake HOA filings, poisoned livestock, trespass, threats. She revealed the money trail, linking Whitmore to the official, exposing the corruption in broad daylight. Whitmore's lawyers tried to object, but Elena's preparation was flawless. Every move they made, she countered with calm precision. Finally, she held up the fraudulent HOA charter. This document is the foundation of their claims, and it's nothing more than a forgery. This entire scheme was designed to steal a decorated veteran's land. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The judge's gavel slammed down. The verdict came swift and sharp. The fake HOA was declared fraudulent. Whitmore was ordered to face criminal charges for fraud, conspiracy, and harassment. The county official was indicted alongside him. The ranch, Marcus's sanctuary, his dream, his home, was restored to him beyond challenge. For a moment, Marcus sat in silence, the weight of the battle lifting from his shoulders. He turned to Eleanor, his voice rough with emotion. I couldn't have done this without you. She smiled softly. You didn't just fight for the ranch, Marcus. You fought for yourself. You fought to believe in tomorrow again. Weeks later, the ranch thrived once more. The fences stood tall, The cattle grazed freely, and the shadow of fear had finally lifted. Elena visited often, no longer just a lawyer or an ally, but something far more precious. Together, they walked the land at sunset, the horizon burning gold. Marcus stopped, taking her hands in his. His voice trembled, not with fear, but with hope. "I thought I'd spend the rest of my life alone, Elena. But you're my second chance." Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered back, "And you're mine." He kissed her beneath the setting sun. The ranch spread wide around them, a symbol not only of justice, reclaimed, but of love reborn. This was the story of Marcus Johnson, a veteran who fought not with weapons this time, but with courage, love, and truth. When corruption tried to steal his home, justice returned it. And in the battle for his ranch, he found something greater than peace. He found love. Here, on Inside True Stories, we remind you, sometimes the greatest victories are not just about land or power, but about the heart.